Imagine a society where every single moment of your life, from birth to age 60, was controlled by the state, where luxury was forbidden, weakness was eliminated, and a single cloak had to last you an entire year. This wasn't dystopian fiction. This was Sparta, and it produced the most feared warriors the ancient world had ever seen. In the southern region of ancient Greece, called Laconia, around 650 BC, a society emerged that would become legendary for its military prowess and uncompromising discipline. The Spartans called their way of life eunomia, meaning good order. Every law, every custom, every ritual traced back to a semi-mythical lawgiver named Lycurgus, who designed a social experiment in human potential that would last for centuries. At the heart of Spartan society was the Agoge, a state-sponsored education program that wasn't just a school, but a 13-year crucible designed to forge warriors from boys. When a Spartan child was born, they weren't immediately welcomed into the family. Elders examined the infant for signs of weakness or deformity. Only the strong were allowed to live. This brutal selection process set the tone for everything that followed. For the first 7 years, Spartan children lived at home, but even this early period was governed by strict principles. Mothers and nurses raised children without pampering or coddling. No swaddling clothes softened their bodies. They learned early that comfort was not a right, but a weakness to be eliminated. At age 7, everything changed. Boys were taken from their families and enrolled in herds called agili. They lived in barracks, slept on reeds they pulled from the river with their own hands, and received only basic literacy education. The focus wasn't on reading poetry or studying mathematics. It was on physical fitness, obedience, and the ability to endure pain without complaint. Between ages 13 and 18, the training intensified dramatically. Each boy received 1 cloak per year, regardless of season. In the freezing Greek winters, they shivered. In the scorching summers, they sweated. They were deliberately underfed, forced to steal food to survive. Getting caught wasn't punished because you stole. It was punished because you were clumsy enough to get caught. The lesson was clear. Cunning and resourcefulness mattered as much as strength. One of the most famous rituals took place at the sanctuary of Artemis Orthia. Young Spartans had to steal cheeses from an altar, while older warriors whipped them mercilessly. Some boys died from the beatings, others bore the scars for life, but none cried out. To show pain was to show weakness, and weakness had no place in Sparta. At 18, young men entered military service. The best among them were selected for the Crypteia, a secret police force that operated in the shadows. These elite warriors lived off the land, moving silently through the countryside. Their mission was to hunt and kill helots, the enslaved population that worked Spartan lands. This brutal practice served a dual purpose. It kept the helot population in fear and gave young warriors real experience in killing without hesitation. From age 20 to 30, Spartans became full-time soldiers. Even married men lived in barracks, eating their meals in communal mess halls called Crypteia. This system prevented any individual from becoming soft or accumulating private wealth. Every Spartan man, regardless of family background, ate the same food and followed the same rules. And what food it was? The staple of Spartan diet was black broth, a soup made from boiled pig's blood, salt, and vinegar. A visitor from another Greek city once tasted it and declared, "Now I know why the Spartans do not fear death." The implication was clear. If you could stomach black broth every day, dying in battle seemed almost pleasant by comparison. But Spartan education wasn't purely about physical brutality. They learned music, dance, and poetry. Not for artistic expression, but because rhythm helped them march in perfect formation and kept morale high during long campaigns. They were taught the art of brevity, speaking rarely, but with devastating precision. This created the term we still use today, laconic, named after their region of Laconia. Spartan sayings, called apophthegms, perfectly captured their philosophy. When mothers handed their sons shields before battle, they said, "With it or on it. Return victorious carrying your shield, or be carried home dead upon it." Dropping your shield to flee was the ultimate disgrace because in the phalanx formation, your shield protected the man standing to your left. When a visitor asked King Agesilaus why Sparta had no defensive walls, he pointed to his armored soldiers and replied, "These are Sparta's walls." The message was unmistakable. A city isn't protected by stone and mortar, but by the courage and character of its people. Perhaps the most famous example of laconic wit came when Philip II of Macedon, father of Alexander the Great, sent a threatening message to Sparta. His scroll read, "If I win this war, I will burn your houses, enslave your women, and destroy your city." The Spartans sent back a one-word reply, "If." They never bothered with hypothetical threats. They focused on present reality and their own unshakable strength. One young Spartan complained to his mother that his sword was too short. Her response was immediate and cutting. Add a step to it. If your tools are limited, increase your effort. Don't complain about circumstances. Change your approach. What made Sparta truly revolutionary wasn't just how they trained men, but how they treated women. In a world where women were typically confined to domestic spaces, Spartan women were educated, athletic, and economically powerful. They could own land, manage estates, and by the 4th century BC, they controlled nearly 40% of Spartan territory. The philosophy behind this was practical. Strong mothers raised strong sons. While men were away at war, women ran the economy, managed properties, and maintained social order. Spartan women were famous throughout Greece for their sharp tongues and fearless attitudes. They embodied the same values as their male counterparts: discipline, courage, and unwavering commitment to the state. To prevent corruption and greed, Lycurgus supposedly banned gold and silver coins, replacing them with heavy iron bars. Moving even modest wealth required a wagon and team of oxen. Theft became impractical. Hoarding became impossible. By removing temptation, Sparta preserved the character of its citizens. This stood in stark contrast to Athens, Sparta's great rival. Where Athens celebrated individual excellence, rhetoric, and artistic achievement, Sparta valued collective survival, brevity, and military discipline. Where Athenian women were cloistered at home, Spartan women were educated landowners. Where Athens built a powerful navy and encouraged long philosophical debates, Sparta built an unstoppable land army and valued actions over words. The Spartan system wasn't perfect. The brutal treatment of helots, the elimination of weak infants, and the relentless focus on warfare came at tremendous human cost. But the lessons embedded in Spartan culture remain relevant today. True power doesn't need to shout. Success comes from supporting those beside you. Physical and mental toughness are cultivated through deliberate discomfort. Brevity and clarity communicate more than verbose speeches. When King Leonidas led 300 Spartans to hold the pass at Thermopylae in 480 BC against a Persian army numbering in the hundreds of thousands, he embodied everything Sparta represented. Outnumbered, outmatched, and certain to die, they held their ground for 3 days. Their sacrifice bought time for Greece to unite and ultimately defeat the Spartans, focused on the now, not the if. They prepared relentlessly, acted decisively, and faced consequences without complaint. Sparta wasn't just a city of soldiers. It was a centuries-long experiment in human discipline, equality among citizens, and mental toughness. Their walls weren't made of stone, but of human character. Their strength came not from individual glory, but from absolute unity. And their legacy reminds us that true resilience is built through deliberate challenge, not avoided through comfort.